Hi everyone, my name is Dana and welcome to this intermediate yoga backbending practice. This is an intermediate class, so I'm assuming that you've backbended before and you have some idea of how your body responds. So that said, I'm teaching this class without props. If you find at any point that you need a blanket or blocks or a belt, you should feel free to modify at your own discretion. Otherwise, you can just follow along with me. I wanted to provide something for you to practice that was just you and your mat, and that can be a really great experience sometimes. So I'm going to invite you over to your sticky mat, and I'd like you to start lying flat. So you'll see that I have space around me on my sticky mat. You'll see I will have space to extend my arms overhead as well as out to the sides. So make sure you have that around you. From there, will you start by bringing your two knees in towards your chest? Can you close your eyes and deepen your breath? Deepen your breath and ground yourself in your body. So anchor yourself into your breath by deepening your breath. Breathe into your abdomen. Breathe into your hips. And breathe into your back. Before we begin with this backbending practice, let's gently open the body in order to receive the backbending practice. Open your muscles and open yourself to the experience of your breath. Full, deep, and complete breaths. Last full, deep breath just like this, with two knees into the chest. Now keep your right knee in towards you. Extend your left leg onto the ground and stretch out through the left leg. Stretch out through the left leg as you let your right knee draw in and down. Roll your shoulders back. Stretch out through the left leg. Stretch through the left leg. Firm your left inner thigh and roll your left inner thigh towards the ground. That means if you were to look at your left toes should be facing the ceiling. You should feel your left inner thigh working, firming, and rolling down towards the ground. Last full deep breath. Then bring your left knee in towards you. Hold it in, extend your right leg out onto the ground. Stretch out through the right leg, firm the muscles of the right leg, roll the right inner thigh towards the ground, and breathe. Firm the right inner thigh, roll the right inner thigh towards the ground. Stretch through the right foot, stretch through the right leg as you let your left knee draw in and down. Let your shoulder blades glide down away from your neck. Your shoulders also soften away from your neck. Keep breathing deeply into your body. Keep breathing deeply into your body, into your hips, your abdomen, your low back. As you bring your right knee once again in towards the chest. Hold both of your knees in. So already you should be feeling softer and longer in the muscles of your back. Stay with your breath. Keep your right knee in. Extend your left leg onto the ground. Stretch out through the left leg. Stretch out through the left leg and breathe. Keep breathing, full, deep, and complete as you take your right hand and place it behind your head. Cross your right knee now towards the left. Firm your navel to your spine. Can you let your right foot touch down towards the ground? And can you press your right shoulder towards the ground simultaneously? So I'm turning my head to the right while I twist my right leg towards the left. Breathe deep into this rotation. So the objective here is to feel your chest opening. Breathe deeply into your chest. Also, press your right shoulder into the ground and glide your right shoulder blade away from your neck. So as I'm here breath by breath, I feel my chest opening more and more. So it's a great thing before we begin the backbending practice to actually stretch the chest and engage the back. Now stay with your breath. We're adding on. Maintain this twist. Release your right hand from your head. Bend your left knee. Firm your navel to your spine. And grip your left foot with your right hand. Now, if this feels like it's too much, go back to the previous stage. Notice how I pull, I grip my left foot with my right hand. I'm rolling my right shoulder back and firmly pressing my right shoulder down as I turn my head. I'm lengthening through the crown of my head and turning my head. Breathe. Last full deep breath. Now, when you come back through center, can you undo the grip of your left foot? Can you firm your navel strongly and come straight into that figure 4 shape preparation? You'll notice that I make my hips level. I roll my right hip away from my right shoulder, and then I bring both of my knees in towards my chest. So I'm stretching, opening through my right hip. Breathe deeply into your hip and into your back. It helps the back bending along to open the hips in addition to the chest and the back. It will help you in your back bending journey. Not to mention, it typically feels like a much needed stretch. So just enjoy another full deep breath in and out. Then I'll come back to 2 knees held in towards my chest. So I hold both of my knees in as I soften through my neck and shoulders. I'll repeat all of that on the second side. So my left knee stays in, my right leg extends out. I stretch firmly through my right leg. Then you'll see my left hand is coming behind my head. My right hand helps to twist my left knee towards the right. So you'll notice I'm touching my foot towards the ground. I draw my navel towards my spine. My left shoulder is descending. In other words, it's not the elbow that's pulling. It's actually the shoulder that's descending towards the earth. I let my head turn, and I'm just going to let this second side open up here for a moment. So again, just before we move into the more strengthening portion of class, it's really helpful to let the body open up. So we are opening the chest, the back, the hips. Connect deeply to your breath as you're in this longer hold. And as my left knee is turning right, my head, I'm turning it in the opposite direction. Then, like we did on the first side, you would let your hand go from your head, take your left hand towards your right foot. If that's too intense, just skip this part. I'm pressing my left shoulder to the ground, drawing my navel strongly towards my spine, and as both of my shoulders press down, my head turns. I lengthen through the crown of my head, the very top of my head, and I turn simultaneously. Couple more full, deep and complete breaths. Navel to spine as you're here. Then I let go of my right foot. You'll notice I again firm my navel. I carefully bring my legs up. I level my hips, and I bring my legs in towards me. So I'm in a figure 4, and I stretch. Deep breaths into the second side, and just know that taking the time to soften and open through your hips, outer hips, inner thighs, hip flexors, lengthening the low back. This is all going to help the back bending along. Last full deep breath in and out. And then you can place both of your feet onto the ground. So now we'll start moving into the core and back bend portion. So we're going to start with some glute bridging, some Setu Bandha bridging work. I'd like you to have your arms next to you, and I'd like you to actually grip the sides of the sticky mat. From there, can you firmly press your 2 shoulders down into the ground? Don't lift your hips. Don't lift your hips. Instead, can you start to squeeze your middle and your upper back off of the ground while you draw your navel to your spine? And then relax. So again, if you end up needing to take a peek at any point, stop the practice, watch, and then go back to it. Can you press your shoulders firmly down? Squeeze your middle and your upper back away from the ground while you draw your navel towards your spine. Lengthen through the crown of your head. As you lengthen through the crown of the head, squeeze your middle and your upper back. And as I'm pressing my outer shoulders down, I feel my chest lift. And then I relax it. Now keep looking up towards the ceiling as once again you press your shoulders. Now, firm those middle and upper back muscles really well away from the ground first. So first, you're activating your middle and your upper back to the point that you might feel cramping in your triceps, for example. A lot of work through your middle and your upper back, not neck tension, not face tension. Stay strong. Now press both of your feet and lift both of your hips up and off of the ground. But I felt first my middle and upper back engaged. Then I firmed my deep middle glutes and I allowed them to pick my hips up. So that way I feel no tension in my neck. I'm relaxed in my face, and my back muscles, my arms, my legs are working intensely. My navel is still connected to my spine as I'm here. A couple more full breaths, preparing the legs and the back for some back bending work. Keep your back arms strong. Take your two hips down onto the ground, then relax. We're gonna split that up, splice in leg lift, Urdhva Padasana work. Bring your feet and your knees together. Again, draw your navel towards your spine, but don't smash your back into the ground. Keep a natural lumbar curve. Stretch your arms up towards the ceiling. Strengthen your shoulders. Pull your shoulders away from your ears gently. Then extend your two arms up and overhead until the backs of the hands come towards the ground. And if that can't happen comfortably, please grab the sides of your sticky mat. Continue to stretch through the arms. Draw your navel firmly to your spine. Pick your feet up off of the ground and stretch both of your legs straight up towards the ceiling. Completely straighten your legs. Firm your inner thighs and stretch your inner thighs towards your feet. See your feet parallel to each other. See your feet stretching open. Feel your legs getting longer and stronger as you draw your navel to your spine. Stay with that. Now point your toes like you would do for a Shalabhasana, a locust pose, for example. Stretch through your toes and continue to lengthen your inner thighs. Draw your navel strongly to your spine and point through the toes. As you firm your navel to your spine, anchor your arms and your shoulders into the ground. Whether the arms are overhead or next to you, firmly press your arms towards the ground and breathe. It shouldn't feel painful on your shoulder, so adjust if that's the case. And breathe deeply. Breathe into your hips. Strengthen your legs, strengthen your arms. Enjoy that long hold. Isn't this enjoyable? Another full deep breath in and out. Then bend your knees, separate your feet, hips width apart, navel to spine, feet lightly without a sound. Touch down onto the ground. Arms extending up from the strength of your shoulders. Arms come next to the sides. Grip the sides of your sticky mat. Roll your shoulders back. Don't lift your hips right now. Instead, squeeze your middle and your upper back. Squeeze your middle and your upper back. Draw your navel to your spine. So your spine is going to have a slight back bend shape. And we're using this preparation to prepare the middle and the upper back. Continue to draw your navel to your spine, my friends, as you firm your buttocks and lift your hips up. So you're firming your deep middle glutes and lifting the hips while you're gripping the sticky mat. It's navel to spine. Firm press into your feet. Navel to spine, working middle and upper back. Drive your hips up. Another full deep breath in and out. Stay strong through your back. Take your 2 hips down, middle and upper back lifting, middle and upper back lifting. Hips finally touching down to the ground, then relax. Big toes and knees touching. If possible, firm navel, arms up, arms overhead towards the wall behind you as you pick up from the strength of your core and stretch your 2 legs up. So again, point your toes today. So we're preparing some back bending feet. So you're stretching through your toes, drawing your navel strongly to your spine, and let your feet be lined up to each other. You could absolutely stay here if this is a ton of work, or as you continue to draw your navel to your spine, let your inhale lower your legs towards the ground. Let your exhalation lift your legs up. Keep your legs straight as you inhale and lower the legs, navel to spine. Exhale, 2 legs up. Maintain the natural curve of your spine as you lower the legs and lift the legs. Full deep breaths to lower. Full deep breaths to lift. And 4, inhaling to lower and exhaling to lift. 3, inhaling to lower and exhaling to lift. Navel to spine. Inhaling lower, middle back, upper back strong. Exhaling to lift. Navel to spine. As you lower the legs, middle and upper back strong, and exhaling to lift. Then bend your 2 knees. Place your 2 feet to the ground, hips width apart. Bring your arms next to your sides. So again, as I grip the sticky mat, I teach my navel to draw down while my middle and my upper back, those parts squeeze up and away from the ground. It's like the beginnings of fish pose, of Matsyasana, for those of you who know that reference. And then I maintain that squeeze of my middle and upper back while I'm countering it with the work of my navel. Then I firm my deep middle glutes and lift my hips. So I'm creating that healthy back bend, a stabilized low spine, and strong hips, strong glutes. So the glutes actually need to be quite strong in order to support the low spine as well. So it's glutes strong, core strong, middle and upper back strong, and all those actions are going to help stabilize your back for back bending. Then take your 2 hips down to the ground. Bring both of your knees in towards your chest. So you could absolutely roll to your side in order to come into Uttanasana, but I'm going to show rocking up through Malasana. So to do that, it would be arms next to the sides. It's strong core as I rock very briefly. So if you have a neck injury, neck issue, do not do this part. Just roll to your side and come up. But if that's not an issue, it's legs up and overhead. Don't turn your head to the side to watch me. Watch separately. It's taking your legs up and overhead, bending your knees, pressing into the soles of your feet, and coming into your standing forward bend from there. So you could try that or not. Just take care of yourself. Press firmly through the soles of both your feet as you let your spine go forward and down. And from this Uttanasana, from this intense forward fold, this intense forward stretch, we're going to take downward facing dog. So for downward facing dog, press your right shoulder firmly into your right hand and your left shoulder firmly into your left hand. So to do that, in other words, I'm not just light on my fingertips and going to walk back. Notice how I bend my knees enough to get my hands to plant to the ground. You might even need to take your hands farther forward or place them on blocks. Push through your shoulders in order to take your legs backward to a downward facing dog. So push through each shoulder. Push your right shoulder into your right hand, your left shoulder into your left hand, and breathe. Breathe deep, full, and complete. And just another full deep breath in and out. And then come down onto your knees, flat onto your abdominals. So now to prepare the glutes and the hips a bit more, notice how I bend my knees and I take my heels all the way together. In addition to that, my arms come out to the sides with elbows bent, palms pressing. I press my heels into each other, and from there, like I did in the bridge, I firm my deep middle glutes and I press my hips into the ground. Now simultaneously, I'm drawing my navel to my spine like we were learning on our back. And then I squeeze my middle and my upper back. My middle and my upper back muscles squeeze. My navel, you can actually see how my abdomen picks up and off of the ground while I squeeze my middle and my upper back. And then I draw my navel strongly to my spine and I firm my glutes as I kick my heels into each other. So this feeling of strength in the hips, security in the abdomen, and work in the middle and the upper back are really useful for back bending. But I'm going to take a brief rest from that. So notice how I just release my legs, I stretch my legs back, and I'm going to find that stretch through my toes like I did in the leg lift work. Draw your legs all the way together. Stretch back through all 10 of your toes. Keep your arms like they are as you stretch your inner thighs to your inner feet. Firm your deep middle glutes towards the ground. Lift your navel towards your spine and start to roll your shoulders back simultaneously. So I'm going to squeeze my middle and my upper back muscles while I'm lifting my navel towards my spine, while I'm firming my buttocks and strengthening through my legs. So again, I'm just creating some preparation for the back bending. And then gently let that all go. Now can you anchor your toes into the ground, lengthen your legs, place your hands next to your sides, roll your shoulders back, and I'm going to press from chaturanga into downward facing dog. So you'll notice that I roll both of my shoulders back, I draw my navel to my spine, I tuck my hips underneath me in order to press backward into downward facing dog. Then I feel my right shoulder press, my left shoulder press, and I stretch out from limb to limb. Then again, coming forward to the abdomen. So this time, I'm going to lower down from a plank position. So you'll see that I bring my shoulders forward and I press my shoulders firmly into my hands. I move my shoulder blades away from my ears, lift my navel, tuck my hips, and then I carefully lower down. So again, I stretch back through my legs, bend my knees, and take my heels together again. So you're gonna see me kick my heels, take my arms out to the sides. I drive my deep middle glutes down towards the ground, lift my navel, roll my shoulders back, and squeeze my middle and upper back. So again, this is important. Hips are secure, buttocks are tucking away from the low back, and middle buttocks are moving forward to the front of the hip joint in order to support the hip joint. The navel is drawing towards the spine. The middle and the upper back are strong. Last deep breath into that preparation. And then let that go, stretching your legs. Bring your legs all the way together. As I bring my legs together, I also place my arms next to my sides for an arms to the sides Shalabhasana locust pose. Stretch your legs, tuck your buttocks, drive your buttocks, lift your navel, squeeze your middle and your upper back, start to lift your chest. Stretch your legs, firm your legs, full deep breaths. Then as you stretch your legs and firm your hips, can you lift your legs and lift your chest more? Another deep breath into Shalabhasana. And let that go. So of course, modify if you need to. You could spread your legs wide. That's a great option. You can use a blanket underneath your abdomen or your ribs. Do what you need to. One more time. From here, compact the legs, stretch your legs, firm your buttocks, move your buttocks towards the ground, firm your glutes, roll your shoulders back, draw your navel to your spine, stretch through your legs, and lift your legs. Roll your shoulders back, lengthen your inner thighs, firm your buttocks towards the ground as you lift your navel, as you roll your shoulders back. And then let that go. Press into downward facing dog. I'm doing that by coming up through chaturanga and then into downward facing dog. Push firmly your shoulders to your hands. Push firmly your hips to your feet. So then I come forward into a standing forward bend in Uttanasana with my feet all the way together again. Go forward. So use your common sense. Again, I'm assuming you have some yoga practice under your belt, and you can always just transition flat onto your back. But I'm going to show going through Malasana, rolling back to the Halasana, plow pose, and then coming flat. So it would be bending through the knees, rolling the shoulders back as you bend through the knees, roll back into a plow pose, and then you would come back to your bridge work setup. So arms next to your sides and grip your sticky mat like we did before. Squeeze your middle and your upper back away from the ground. Preparing the back. Draw your navel to your spine and pick your two hips up and away from the ground. Drive your hips up. Drive your hips up. Keep breathing as you drive your hips up. Now stay strong through your hips, navel and back, as you try to lift your heels up and off of the ground. And if that doesn't work, just skip that part, no biggie. Then take your hips down. Don't roll your spine down. Can you keep your middle and upper back strong? As you take your hips down, then take your heels down. Prepare that way one more time by squeezing your middle and your upper back, then firming your glutes and navel, then lifting up. And you would stay up as you lifted your heels up, but you should feel strong through your middle and your upper back, your navel, and your hips. And remember, don't roll your spine. Since we're doing back bend work, don't roll your spine down. Can you instead take your hips towards your feet and then straight down to the ground? And then your heels touch down. So it's going to be single leg bridge work. So will you keep your right foot on the ground, draw your navel to your spine, and extend your left leg up like you did in the leg lift earlier. And for the sake of the pointed foot back bending, will you stretch through your left toes? So feel this already. The hips need to stay level. Okay? Can you relax your left foot, bend your left knee, place your left foot down, change sides. Keep your hips level as you stretch the right leg up and point through the toes. Breathe deep. Draw your navel to your spine and keep your hips level. So if that's a struggle, I would not recommend picking up as I'm going to instruct with the next round. I would recommend just staying right here. Then you would bend your right knee, place right foot down. So I still feel firm in my navel, my middle and upper back, as I press firmly through my right foot and stretch my left leg up with toes pointed. Now I keep my hips level and I lift both of my hips up. Both of my hips are lifting and I breathe. As I press my right heel into the ground, I squeeze middle and upper back. I feel my right buttock connecting into my right foot. Now I feel my left buttock connect up into my left foot, and I take another deep breath. Then I take my hips towards my right heel and down to the ground. Left foot to the ground. Second side. So I would stretch my right leg up with toes pointed. Level my hips, draw my navel in. Middle, upper back working. Hips level as I lift up. So I'm strengthening through my left buttocks and I'm pushing into my left foot. Then my right hip needs to strengthen and lift up into my right foot. So this prepares me for back bending. It also prepares me for inversion work as well. And then two hips, they don't come straight down to the ground. The hips come towards the left foot. The hips lengthen away from the shoulders. Then right foot down. And just pause there and breathe. Feel your navel drawn in towards your spine. Don't force your low spine to the ground. Give it another breath. So again, use your common sense. If you need to roll to your side, will you roll over to your second side and pick up? Otherwise, we're going to go through the plow pose, squat to standing forward bend. So I draw my navel in. I press firmly through my arms. Never turn your head side to side when you roll your legs up and overhead. I pick my legs up into plow then. I bend my knees, firm my navel, push down through both of my feet, and I come into a standing forward bend. And I just take a couple full deep breaths there. And now I do feel my navel drawn in, middle and upper back drawn in, right hip pushing to right foot, left hip pushing to left foot. Then downward facing dog, so go ahead and press your hands, press your shoulders into your hands, and then go backward to your downward facing dog. Now in downward facing dog, similarly, I feel my right hip push into my right foot, my left hip push into my left foot, my right shoulder push into my right hand, my left shoulder push into my left hand. And that just, it dials me in to my whole body. I feel strong from my shoulders, strong from my hips. Another full deep breath in and out. And then either down to the knees or plank would be great to transition flat onto your abdomen as well. So stretch back through your toes and feel the fronts of your hips connect into the ground. Can you bring your arms out to the sides with your elbows bent? Firm your buttocks, lift your navel, roll your middle, or roll your shoulders back and firm your middle and your upper back. So this is our base pose that we're working from. This is our base pose that we're working from for the next part. So I would, if you need to watch, you come down and watch and then do the exercise. But notice how I stay lifted, I bend through my right knee, and I strengthen through my glutes as I lift my right hip up, and you'll see how my toes are pointed. And then I would extend my right leg back, and I'll do the same thing on the second side. So I drive my hips, I bend my left knee, and as I drive my hips down, I would lift my left knee up and off of the ground. So I'm preparing my hips, and then left leg down. So then there's more. This part, you can take your head down to the ground, bend your right knee, lift your hip up, roll your shoulders back, and now as you firm your navel, can you firm your navel and your right buttocks as you rotate your right foot towards the left, and then come back through center. So notice how my right knee stays off the ground as I come back through center. Then I stretch, right leg back, bend left knee, lift the left hip, point the toes, and rotate the hips open. So take the left toes towards the ground. And it's all this same work of your buttocks working, your navel drawn in, your middle and your upper back strong. And then when I come back through center, I'm keeping my hip extended all the way. Left leg down. So right knee bends. Do not let your right knee drop to the ground. Keep it up and then rotate and breathe and center. Right leg out, left knee bends, left knee up and rotate. So I'd love for you to work with your hips and your back in a way that you feel really strong in your glutes. Support the glutes, the objective, it's to support your hip joint. The glute, the strength, is to support your hip joint and your low back. The navel drawing in towards the spine is to support the low back. The middle and the upper back strengthening are going to help you open where you need to back bend healthfully. Go ahead and make sure that both of your sides feel really worked in a healthy way and even. And once you've done that, let's prepare for Dhanurasana. So you can take your hands next to your sides like a cobra pose, a Bhujangasana, and just slightly roll your shoulders back, bring your chest forward. Then to move into bow pose, into Dhanurasana, can you once again firm your glutes, press them into the ground, draw your navel to your spine, and then bend both of your knees. So when the knees bend, typically the buttocks like to flare up, but we need to keep the pelvis firm into the ground even while we stretch through the toes and pull the heels in towards us. So as I'm here, you'll notice how I'm doing a lot of the same bridge work that I did earlier. Glutes, navel, middle, upper back. And I'm going to stick with that work as I take my hands towards my feet and my ankles. If you find that this pains you, whether it's the low back or the hips or wherever, just stay in a previous variation. But otherwise, notice from here, I drive my hips down into the ground. I start to roll my shoulders back, and I'm going to pick up. So I stretch up through my feet. I roll both of my shoulders back, and I squeeze my middle as well as my upper back. I'm firm through my middle buttocks. I'm breathing deep. And then I relax it. So we're going to move between bow pose, which is what we just did, and then Backasana or frog pose variation. So for Backasana, frog pose variation, I'm going to say same thing of firming buttocks and navel, bending the knees, but then this time, as you point the toes and come up through the roll of the shoulders back, you can take your hands towards your feet, but see how this time I'm actually trying to stretch my fingers towards my knees. So you might just make the very tips of your toes, for example, that way, but you might also begin to work your hands a little bit deeper onto your feet. And then notice how here with this preparatory stage, I have to re-engage glutes, navel, middle, upper back. And then I'm going to start to bend my elbows and glide my shoulders away from my ears. So this is not the final stage of Backasana, but it's typically a doozy anyway, just doing this much. It's typically pretty intense on the thighs and or the shoulders. If you feel it in the low back, please dial it back. And then let that go. Full deep breaths. Now for a half Backasana, half frog pose. See how I've taken my left forearm in front of me. I tuck my hips and lift my navel. And I find the same glute drive, navel, middle, upper back. My right knee is the one that's going to bend with my toes pointed. So go ahead and take the first grip of the foot, which was the fingers stretching back. This might be where you need to stop. Yeah, this might be where you need to stop, and that's fine. But notice how I take my hand and see how I'm grabbing my big toe side of my foot? And then notice how, as I'm here and I strengthen my core and glutes, I'm going to bend my elbow, sweep my fingers towards the pinky side of my foot and then forward while I roll my right shoulder back. So that's typically a pretty intense stretch into the shoulder, into the thigh. Keep breathing as you're here. And then let that first side go. Take your right arm in front of you, left hand out to the side, bend your left knee. And maybe you felt confused, like, I don't know how to do this, and that's okay too. Just try to follow along with me. See how I try to kick myself? That's how much I'm working my hamstrings. I draw my navel towards my spine. My left hand, see how I start with my fingers in the first position, stretching back towards my ankle. Then notice how I try to catch the big toe side of my foot with my thumb and my index finger. Then you'll see how, as I grip my glutes and draw my navel in, I roll my left shoulder back, I spin my fingers forward, and my left shoulder rolls back. So that requires quite a bit of strengthening and opening to get that spin of your hand. So if it's not coming today, don't stress out and just stay in the first hand position. It's great work for you, even if you're not getting the clasp of the foot. And then I let that left leg go. I come flat onto my abdomen. I let my hips settle into the ground. And then we're going to move from Dhanurasana into Bakkasana. Back to Dhanurasana and out. Okay, so arms next to your sides, palms planted, roll your shoulders back. Grip your deep middle buttocks, draw your navel in. Bend your knees, and so you're going to feel those hamstrings and glutes working a lot. Your middle and your upper back working a lot, your navel drawing in. Then take your hands towards your feet, and I'm going to keep stretching through my toes as I roll my shoulders back and lift my chest, and I'm trying to open my chest wide, lift my chest and lift through the crown of my head. And then I would slightly lower. Now I flip my hands so that my fingers are facing back, and this might be it, right? Bending the elbows and rolling the shoulders back here in Bakkasana. Or could you try taking your hands to your inner feet, roll your shoulders back, and then spin your fingers forward as you roll both shoulders back. So it takes a lot of strength in my glutes, my core, my middle, and my upper back. And then I finish by coming out through my Dhanurasana one last time. I get so much higher after doing that last pose. So lift your chest, lift your legs, and let it go. Deep breaths. Deep breaths into your hips, deep breaths into your back. Keep breathing deep, full, and complete. As you stretch back through your legs, now with your feet spread hips width apart for an Urdhva Mukha Svanasana or an upward facing dog. So you'll see how I take my hands again next to my ribs, And then I strengthen my glutes and drive my buttocks towards the ground. I roll my shoulders back and I start to lift my chest. I'm going to start first with my knees on the ground as I roll my shoulders back and breathe. So I have to keep my deep middle glutes strong to support my hip joints, my navel drawn back and up to support my lumbar spine, my middle and my upper back support and open my chest. Then I'll try pressing my feet into the ground, the tops of my feet into the ground as I roll my shoulders back one more time into an upward facing dog. Strengthen your glutes, strengthen your core, strengthen your middle and your upper back. Pull your thighs forward and through your arms. Not literally, you're imagining that. And then exhale, firm your navel to your spine as you go backward into downward facing dog and push out from your hips into your feet, from your shoulders into your hands. Full deep breaths. Press, press, press. Breathe deep into your back. Breathe deep into your hips. And then gently come down into child's pose. So let your knees spread wide, your big toes touch, and soften in your hips now. Soften your hips. Soften in your low back. And begin to cool down the back. Breathe deep into the hips. Breathe deeply into your back. And then gently come forward onto your abdomen as we continue with this cool down. So now I take my right knee out to the right side. I draw my navel to my spine. I place the right hand then behind the head and see how we're coming back full circle how we started class. So let your shoulder, your right shoulder, gently come down. Draw your navel towards your spine as you let your right shoulder come down. And then rotate forward and let your right leg go back behind you. Let your left leg come out to the left. Left hand behind the head and you can twist. And just draw your navel to your spine and breathe. Deep breaths into the twist. And then again, come back through center and stretch your left leg back. Press back into child's pose. Deep breaths. Then lift up onto the hands and knees. It's downward facing dog. Press through your hips, press through your shoulders. One final time, coming forward to that standing forward bend with your feet together. Go forward. Then again, you can either transition by coming up and just then coming flat to your back, or you can one final time bend your knees and take your hips to the ground, roll your legs up and over briefly, touching that plow pose if your body allows. And then roll back onto your back. Bring your two knees in towards your chest. Feel your hips, soften your hips. Relax deeply, fully and completely. And stay relaxed as you set yourself up to relax here in Shavasana. You could choose to keep your legs bent. You could choose to extend your legs out straight. Please just take the position of your choice and breathe deep, full and complete. Breathe into your abdomen, breathe into your hips. Breathe into your back and neutralize your back with your breath. Neutralize your back. Full, deep and complete breaths into your body and out. Can you stay relaxed as you place one hand onto your abdomen and one hand onto your heart? feel your breath in your body. Open to the feeling of your breath. Open to the feeling of your breath and breathe deeply within you. Fully, deeply, and completely within you. And stay relaxed. Stay connected as you just gently roll over towards your side on your own time. And press yourself up to sit one last time. And take your hands in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Backbends are challenging, and sometimes it takes a little motivation from a teacher to get through the practice. So I'm so glad that you chose to practice this video, and grateful that you trusted me with the journey. So thank you, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye.